Awesome. So email is another thing that I wanted to touch on, and what you guys kind of brought up in your email seemed to be pretty high on the list. So the average worker spends 13 hours a week on emails alone, which means 28% of the work week is taken up by email, which I can believe the number of emails that we all get on a daily basis from different maybe listservs, from different groups you're a part of, from students, from faculty, from staff. So finding a way to kind of better manage that is obviously going to be a huge time saver. So there's a philosophy called inbox zero, which I'll be upfront, my inbox is not at zero. But it's a helpful kind of way to think about how do I go through and better filter all these emails that I'm getting on a daily basis. So the inbox zero philosophy discusses keeping your email closed for a lot of the day. So I know for myself, if I have my email open and I'll just sit there kind of refreshing it, waiting, oh, maybe I need to hear back from this person, whatever that may be, which is not necessarily a great use of my time. Then they have these different terms. So delete, delegate, respond, defer, or do. So we're going to go through how you can set up rules in Gmail to help you manage your email more automatically. But you could also set up different categories in your inbox for, okay, I'm going to send this to, I need to delegate this, or I need to defer it, or I need to put it off for another time. Maybe there's a folder that you have in your inbox that says, okay, go back to this at a later date when you can actually respond to it. And if you can respond in 2 minutes or less, let's say respond right now as soon as you see it, just to get it out of your workflow. As some general rules, consulting emails at predefined times, say, all right, I'm going to check it at 11 a.m., at 2 p.m., at 4 p.m., and that's it. So that can kind of depend also on what your responsibilities are. Obviously, in some days, maybe that isn't possible, but thinking about maybe every Monday, this is the way that I generally approach my email, so you're not constantly checking it. Disabling notifications. I know I have notifications that pop up in the bottom of my Google Chrome, for example, always telling me when I get a new email, or on my phone, as well as prioritizing emails. So there is an automated function in like Gmail that'll it's trying to prioritize it for you. It's trying to learn what your behavior is in order to show you, oh, we think these are important emails for you. But figuring out ways to think about, okay, now I have to go through and sort them. What's the most important, or what's the most valuable use of my time? And if you don't read it, unsubscribe. I found this site called Unroll.me, which is linked in the presentation, which will actually show you a list of all of the email subscriptions that you're signed up for. So if you know that you get all these emails from, so Indeed, for example, job searching website would all be like filling my inbox on a daily basis, where I'm like, I just leave it alone because I don't want to mess with it. This will show you every single site that your email is subscribed to, basically. So that can help you cut down on that clutter. You can do that with a rule by sending all of your email to a particular place, or you can go here and just remove it. So creating rules, and I'll pull up Gmail so you guys can see what that looks like. And I created a couple of test rules so you can see what it looks like. So you go to create a rule by clicking on this little down arrow at the end of your search mail. So this also allows you to do a more advanced search of your inbox. So if you're looking for a message from a particular person, or you're looking for a message with these keywords, or it got sent at some point within the last week, you can search for that here. But you can also create a filter from this information. So let's see. And then you can choose what you want Gmail to do with it. So anytime it sees anything that has Zoom in the title or in the body of the email, you can have it. So the archive function is useful as far as, okay, these are emails that I just don't need to see that are coming in, and I want to just move out of my general inbox so I can prioritize. Archiving it then doesn't delete the email, but you're able to go and see it over here. Or under all mail. So even if you do delete it or archive it, it won't be fully deleted. It's just sitting in a folder where you can't really see it. or you can have it marked as red. You can apply, so labels are something that's helpful as far as, okay, now I can view everything that I've labeled classroom technology support or Zoom meetings or any number of things. So there are emails that I get on a daily basis that I can categorize and then be able to view in that way. So when you do create a rule or a category as well, if you want to categorize it, categories are these. In my personal Gmail, they show up here as like promotional, social, but they don't necessarily show up here. So if you do want to create these categories, they then give you, they aren't retroactive. So once you make this rule, it'll start to sort email in that way, beginning from when you created it. So it doesn't go back and sort through all of your other email, just knowing that it does it going forward. Yeah, so for example, I did create so I get a lot of like university news or education updates from a couple of different websites, but then I went ahead and created a category for, okay, if it's coming from these 3 addresses, then I want you to go in this box so that I can catch up with them as opposed to them sitting in my inbox and I inevitably don't read most of them. You can also do something called changing your inbox type, which would show you here. I accidentally pulled it up when I was clicking on my inbox. So it's this little arrow next to your inbox, and you can change it to sort in different ways. So important first, that's saying what Gmail thinks is important first, so knowing that it's not necessarily what's actually most important to you. So you can switch between these different inbox types and see what works best for you if you want to have all of your unread messages first so you can sort through them when you come in. So just knowing that that option does exist for you, and you can see different ways that you could use it to maybe be more productive. So this is also just kind of like a helpful general rule as far as sorting or looking through emails. If you want to search what different operators do when you're searching in your top Gmail bar, so using like quotation marks or the word or. Yeah, these are our rules. Awesome. So Google Drive is the next kind of area that I wanted to focus on as far as simplifying team collaboration. So obviously you have all of your files for the most part in one place, which allows you to then share with others more easily and set different permissions and see who maybe made edits to different documents as well. It is helpful as a central location because, as you know, if you go back and forth, you're saying, okay, I'm looking for maybe this invoice from a particular date, but I can't find where this is in my email. If you then have it in your Google Drive, it allows you to find it much more easily. You can also download the app if you are working from your phone or more remotely. You're able to access it on your mobile device. And you're also able to send larger files through Gmail. So because Google Drive is integrated with Gmail, you can then select a file from your drive to send via email, which is helpful for files that are otherwise just too large to send. So just first to start off is a difference between, I'm sure for the most part you guys are familiar with the different ways that you can view Google Drive versus FileStream. So FileStream is the one on the left, the blue icon. This allows you to view and edit everything that you have in Google Drive locally on your own computer. So you'll always have like the most current version, for example, without it actually being stored on your physical computer, which then gives you additional space so you don't have to store everything on your desktop. As opposed to Google Drive through your browser where you're able to see all your different drives that you're a part of, or your team drives or your own drive. So just a small distinction. So employees spend an average of 5 hours every week waiting to get in touch with people that have the unique knowledge that they need. So the ways that Google Drive can help you get around some of those problems that I've seen in a number of different workplaces. You know you need a particular document or you're not sure how to do a particular process. Having those things in a central location where everyone has access to them so you don't have to wait on someone to go, I don't remember how to do that. Can you show me? So First of all, naming files so that they're easily found. So coming up with common naming conventions in your Google Drive, or common like sorting functions, organizing them so others can find them, and sharing them with the correct settings and users. So ensuring if you are sharing files, maybe you're sharing them in a folder, that then everyone has the same access to that folder with 10 different files in them. So this is kind of a broad overview of Google Drive and different options, just as kind of like a broad taking a step back and some ways that you can sort your Google Drive. So one, for example, is color coding different folders. You can also toggle between different views. If people are sharing, I know a lot of people have the shared with me folder. If people are sharing files with you, you can then add those to your drive and sort them accordingly. You can also add important files to your starred, which won't remove them from their current folders. It'll just allow you to access them more quickly. And if you are looking for maybe elusive file or files that you remember you used a year ago, something like that, there are some kind of general ways that you can search for them in the search bar. So using the word title and then search for the file's title in quotations. So these are just some kind of tips for if you're looking for a particular file. So you know that someone owned that item, but you can't remember what it was called. Or maybe the file type, you know it was a PDF. And you can also view your recently accessed files by going to this button, which has been helpful for me when I know, oh, I just worked on that the other day, but I can't remember where I put it. So it'll show me these different documents that I've been messing with recently, and it'll also show you like details of your files. All right. So I know sharing permissions is one of those areas that can be a little bit confusing, especially given maybe we're sharing files with students and they are in a different domain. So the mymail.vcu.edu as opposed to the vcu.edu. So you still are able to share with students, but it is a little bit limited, and just knowing that there are ways you can do that more efficiently. So you can share with students, but if you do, so you share maybe via link and you say that everyone can view it, it's actually only other faculty and staff are able to view it because they're in the @vcu.edu domain, whereas students are outside of that. So you'd have to find another way if you want to share the file with maybe someone who's outside of the VCU domain, just knowing that sending them the link isn't going to give them access. You can also, if this is not something that's necessarily convenient, or you're thinking of a different use, if there's maybe a group that you communicate with, like a group of students that you communicate with often, or people who are outside of the VCU network, it's possible to have a Google Groups created. So there are ways to kind of work around that limitation. There are also team drives, which I think you saw in the screenshot that I took of my drive over here, which displays underneath your regular drive. So I'm in the FARTech team drive, which then allows me to see things like our standards of operating procedures and things like that. And those can be requested at this link.
What do you recommend with like sharing stuff with students and working on projects?
Sharing stuff with students. It looks to me like Google Groups is a pretty good option. Yeah, sure. Let me pull up the link.
I mean, otherwise, I just get emails and I'm like, you have it.
Right.
Yeah, ask for access.
Yeah, and then you have to go through every single invitation, for example. So Technology Services has a number of different options. So the Google Groups. So students can be added to the Google group in the faculty staff domain, but the group has to be created by, so the people who manage like Google apps at the university. But it'll give you, and they're probably the best resource for, say, if we are working on, okay, there's this particular use, or you're looking to do it for a particular course or whatever that might be, we can kind of consult with them and see what's the best option for you guys as far as sharing. Would a Google group probably be the best option? Do you have another question or a specific thing you had in mind?
And it's even just like working with people outside of you.
Yeah.
At other institutions, you just always have to must access. It didn't used to be that way.
Right. Yeah. And now we can't create documents that are public facing. So when you do share a document, it's limited to within VCU. Brian, did you have something that you wanted to?
Well, I thought I did, and then you threw that wrench in on me. Yeah, threw that wrench at me. We can help manage the Google groups with VCU, obviously, and Chris and I have access to that. So we have groups for every class. So we'll do like class of 2022, which you guys know that. So that's an easy way to share. But if you have your own specific group, then you could work with us. Just send us that list of students, even if they're external addresses as well. And then we can just have VCU create that group. But that is a little bit more challenging unless you already have all those email addresses.
So like in P3 Lab, we use Google Docs and Google Drive to upload the presentations, but April had to do it because she has an iMail so that she could get the students to like actually open the different things about behind it. So.
Right.
So how would that look? What's the nomenclature for the Google group if we don't want to share it with whatever P2 class?
Same as all the groups, SOP_. So if you go into the Gmail and look the same way you would send an email, if you do the compose, right? And if you click the to button, then you can just search all of the actual groups within the university or the domain. All of our groups start with SOP_, and then you'll see all of the different groups we have. So it'd be the same way. Do SOP_, and then you'll see the different groups in there. Yeah.
Awesome.